लाइफ में लेना देना तो चलता रहता है। इधर फ्लेक्सी लोन से बोरो कर लिया और उधर बाय मॉम डैड का वेकेशन डन। शादी का डिसीजन लिया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से और बोरो किया। प्रमोशन मिला तो ये लो थोड़ा लोन वापस कर दिया। थैंक यू। नए इंटीरियर्स का डील किया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से फिर थोड़ा ले लिया। ईयर एंड बोनस मिला तो इस बार लोन ज्यादा वापस कर दिया। लाइफ में लेना देना चलता रहेगा तो लोन्स में क्यों नहीं। इसीलिए फ्लेक्सी लोन फ्रॉम बजाज फिनसर्व एक ऐसा लोन जो जब चाहे बोरो करे, जैसे चाहे रीपे करे, वो भी चुटकी में। थिंक इट डन विद बजाज फिनसर्व।
हेलो, हर सीजन के लिए नए इंटीरियर्स।
हाँ, वो भी हर रूम के लिए।
फ्रिज, स्मार्टफोन या बड़ा टीवी,
तीनों क्यों नहीं?
अरे ये तो शॉपिंग लिस्ट में नहीं था।
सो अब शॉपिंग कार्ट में तो है। सॉरी।
अच्छा, नए आउटफिट्स की विश लिस्ट।
विश क्यों? Just add to cart and buy.
तो ये सब EMI पे?
और वो भी चुटकी में। On India's fastest growing EMI network. Think it done with Bajaj Finserv.
सर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। साहब, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। हुजूर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता।
अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान।
अपनों को खुशियां दिलाना आसान नहीं बनाते तो आगे कैसे बढ़ते। इसीलिए हम जो भी करते हैं उसे बेहतर बनाते आ रहे हैं, बनाते रहेंगे। बजाज फिनसर्व, थिंक इट डन।
माँ के बेडरूम का एसी या लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई। पुणे, पटना, चेन्नई, मथुरा या फिर बेगूसराय, या फिर बेगूसराय। नए घर के लिए चाहिए 4K टीवी हाई फाई, या फिर वाइफ को चाहिए लेटेस्ट स्टाइल। EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI। मॉड्यूलर किचन में पुराना फ्रिज क्यों है भाई?
शादी है नहीं, मैट्रेस पुराना है भाई। अक्खा इंडिया बोले भाई प्राइजेस है हाई। बेस्ट ही खरीदना है तो अपने EMI स्टोर पर आए।
EMI है ना, EMI।
अब काशी हो या वाशी, महंगा लगे तो EMI और बेस्ट ही चाहिए तो भी EMI, क्योंकि बजाज फिनसर्व का EMI है ना। विजिट www.emistore.com।
EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI।
धोखा है धोखा, धोखा ना खाओ जी। इंश्योरेंस फ्रॉड से बचना है बहुत जरूरी जी। वो एजेंट है या फ्रॉड पता लगाओ जी। एक्स्ट्रा ऑफर के झांसे में कहीं फंस ना जाओ जी। अगर कोई अनजान कॉलर इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी डिटेल्स मांगे तो कह देना उनको मिलके स्कैम को एंड करो, हमेशा सेफ रहो जी। Always verify the caller and do not surrender your insurance for attractive offers. हमेशा सावधान रहे, सेफ रहे। Issued in the interest of public awareness by Bajaj Finserv. धोखा है धोखा, धोखा ना खाओ जी। जो होगा सो होगा, ऐसे ना सोचो जी। कह देना उनको। मिलके स्कैम को एंड करो, हमेशा सेफ रहो जी।
Being a hero is all about heart. It's not about ruling the world. It's about owning it. It's not about winning a race. It's about delivering a smile to the human race. It's about a spirit that just cannot be confined by geographies. It's about the heart that beats for the future and a soul that echoes the values of generations. And yet, being a hero is never about the hero. It's about the millions who celebrate them. Hero Motorcorp, the motorcycle leader. There's a gush of wind that hums a sweet song. There's a gush of wind that fights like a hero to fill the world with possibility. There's a gush of wind that jumps across oceans and mountains, embracing the entire planet. There's a gush of wind that blows away darkness. There's a gush of wind that blows for humanity. Because at Hero, we care.
In 1868, the Tata Group was founded on a philosophy that put the community at the heart of its existence. Today, we are $100 billion global enterprise. Our today has been built on enduring values. Is about delivering excellence across business sectors. Is about building a future-ready nation. Our today has a strong foundation with community at its core. Our today is dedicated to the communities we serve. is about more than just a day. Our today is a continuous journey for a better tomorrow. Tata. Leadership with trust.
Behold, the story of victory, of life over malady. Behold the saga of power, of science over sickness. Behold the tale of triumph, of dedication over disease. Behold the rise and rise of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited, one of India's largest privately held pharmaceutical companies based out of Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India. Cadila Pharmaceuticals was born out of the vision of a legend who left an indelible mark in the chronicles of Indian pharmaceuticals industry. He was Indravadan Ambalal Modi, the founder chairman of the company, rightfully christened as the medicine man of India. His vision to alleviate pain of the underprivileged through research-driven innovations has been driving Cadila Pharmaceuticals for more than 6 decades now. Innovations which are backed by the key strengths of the company: the state-of-the-art manufacturing and research facilities. The flagship manufacturing facility at Dholka, Gujarat, sprawls over 100 acres. This avant-garde facility is US FDA approved, besides meeting most of the stringent quality standards across the globe. It manufactures tablets, capsules, injectables, liquids, and orals. The second formulations manufacturing facility is located at Samba in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The API facilities at Ankleshwar, Gujarat, manufacture a large number of key APIs and intermediates at this US FDA and ISO 9002 and ISO 14001 accredited plant. The company also has set up its first ever overseas formulation manufacturing facility at Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. This world-class facility is the only WHO CGMP compliant manufacturing facility in the region. More than 850 products spread across 12 specialties with many of India's top brands in its basket. Great goals are defined by far-sighted vision and achieved by seamless teamwork. A multicultural, multilingual and multinational workforce of over 7,000 employees is truly the propelling power of the company. Not just in the domestic market, the company has a wide global footprint with over 1,000 marketing authorizations across 85 countries. Its international sales force of over 150 highly diversified and versatile personnel lends it an outreach that blankets the globe. As the company grows, so does its commitment to research. Manned by more than 350 scientists, the R&D facilities of Cadila Pharmaceuticals at Dholka, Gujarat is an institution of breakthrough innovations. To take the focus on innovation to the next level, it partners with leading international companies to discover newer treatments. The Cadila Pharmaceuticals Group is gigantic. Its group companies complement and expand the dynamic vision of the company across new avenues of healthcare and newer fast-paced business areas. Cadila Pharmaceuticals is a gentle giant. Decades of dedicated research, groundbreaking healthcare innovations, and worldwide impact proves the infinite potential of one powerful emotion. Care. The success of Cadila Pharmaceuticals bears testimony to the fact that the care continues.
आने वाले कल की दस्तक हमें सुनाई देती है, नई मंजिल है जिस ओर हमें वो दिशा दिखाई देती है। नए इंडिया इंडिया का नया जोश, नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए जोश से निकल पड़े हम, आने वाला कल होगा हमारा, नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
और नए इंडिया के सफर में टेक्नोलॉजी की शक्ति लेकर आपका भागीदार रहेगा रिलायंस। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
लाइफ में लेना देना तो चलता रहता है। इधर फ्लेक्सी लोन से बोरो कर लिया और उधर बाय मॉम डैड का वेकेशन डन। शादी का डिसीजन लिया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से और बोरो किया। प्रमोशन मिला तो ये लो थोड़ा लोन वापस कर दिया, थैंक यू। नए इंटीरियर्स का डील किया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से फिर थोड़ा ले लिया। ईयर एंड बोनस मिला तो इस बार लोन ज्यादा वापस कर दिया। लाइफ में लेना देना चलता रहेगा तो लोन्स में क्यों नहीं। इसीलिए फ्लेक्सी लोन फ्रॉम बजाज फिनसर्व एक ऐसा लोन जो जब चाहे बोरो करे, जैसे चाहे रीपे करे, वो भी चुटकी में। थिंक इट डन विद बजाज फिनसर्व।
हेलो, हर सीजन के लिए नए इंटीरियर्स?
हाँ, वो भी हर रूम के लिए।
फ्रिज, स्मार्टफोन या बड़ा टीवी?
तीनों क्यों नहीं?
अरे ये तो शॉपिंग लिस्ट में नहीं था।
सो अब शॉपिंग कार्ट में तो है। सॉरी।
अच्छा, नए आउटफिट्स की विश लिस्ट।
विश क्यों? जस्ट ऐड टू कार्ट एंड बाय।
तो ये सब EMI पे?
और वो भी चुटकी में। On India's fastest growing EMI network. Think it done with Bajaj Finserv.
सर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। साहब, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। हुजूर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता।
अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान।
अपनों को खुशियां दिलाना आसान नहीं बनाते तो आगे कैसे बढ़ते। इसीलिए हम जो भी करते हैं उसे बेहतर बनाते आ रहे हैं, बनाते रहेंगे। बजाज फिनसर्व, थिंक इट डन।
माँ के बेडरूम का एसी या लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई। पुणे, पटना, चेन्नई, मथुरा या फिर बेगूसराय,
या फिर बेगूसराय।
नए घर के लिए चाहिए 4K टीवी हाई फाई, या फिर वाइफ को चाहिए लेटेस्ट स्टाइल। EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI।
मॉड्यूलर किचन में पुराना फ्रिज क्यों है भाई?
शादी है नहीं, मैट्रेस पुराना है भाई। अक्खा इंडिया बोले भाई प्राइजेस है हाई, बेस्ट ही खरीदना है तो अपने EMI स्टोर पर आए।
EMI है ना, EMI।
अब काशी हो या वाशी, महंगा लगे तो EMI और बेस्ट ही चाहिए तो भी EMI, क्योंकि बजाज फिनसर्व का EMI है ना। विजिट www.emistore.com।
EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI।
नाची 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 नाची। धोखा है धोखा, धोखा ना खाओ जी। नाची 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 नाची। इंश्योरेंस फ्रॉड से बचना है बहुत जरूरी जी। नाची 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 नाची। वो एजेंट है या फ्रॉड पता लगाओ जी। एक्स्ट्रा ऑफर के झांसे में कहीं फंस ना जाओ जी।
अगर कोई अनजान कॉलर इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी डिटेल्स मांगे तो कह देना उनको मिलके स्कैम को एंड करो, हमेशा सेफ रहो जी। Always verify the caller and do not surrender your insurance for attractive offers. हमेशा सावधान रहे, safe रहे. Issued in the interest of public awareness by Bajaj Finserv.
धोखा है धोखा, धोखा ना खाओ जी। जो होगा सो होगा, ऐसे ना सोचो जी। कॉल पे कोई पूछे OTP दो ना जी,
तो कह देना उनको
मिलके स्कैम को एंड करो, हमेशा सेफ रहो जी।
Being a hero is all about heart. It's not about ruling the world. It's about owning it. It's not about winning a race. It's about delivering a smile to the human race. It's about a spirit that just cannot be confined by geography.
Mr. Singhal, have you met Ambassador Gillon before?
I have not yet had the privilege. I knew his two predecessors, but not him as yet. Hope one day I'll go and see him.
I'm a newcomer. It's okay. Just a couple of months in town.
Sir, I'm sorry. I couldn't recognize it for DIAMB. I got a little confused. But my pleasure to see you, sir.
My pleasure to be here.
I used to meet Ron, and it was a pleasure. And I hope one day I can come and see you.
Inshallah.
I look forward.
I think we're on time now. So let me begin by welcoming all of you to the CII Partnership Summit 2021, Partnering for Building a New World. This is a special session on India and Israel. It's a country session promoting India-Israel economic cooperation beyond COVID. Our chair for this session and our moderator is Mr. Salil Singhal, Chairman CII Task Force on Agri-Chemicals and Chairman Emeritus PI Industries India. Mr. Singhal, welcome to the session, and may I request you to say a few words and take the session forward. Over to you, Mr. Singhal.
Thank you, Renuka. Excellency Noor Gillon, our Ambassador of Israel to India. Mr. Anil Agarwal, Additional Secretary within the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Ms. Annette Bernstein, Israel-Nepal Chamber of Commerce. My colleagues from India and Israeli businesses. I'm really delighted to welcome all of you, and particularly Ambassador Noor Gillon for taking over the new role of the Ambassador of Israel in India. Welcome to you, sir, on behalf of my personal behalf and on behalf of CII. As you know, Indo-Israel relationships go a long way, and they have now been cemented on a very strong bond, if I may say so. And to sit here and to moderate this session, therefore, for me is a very special privilege. Israel as a country has been the epitome of innovations, high technology and entrepreneurship. Israeli industry, academic institutions and startups have created innovative solutions for the world. And the Indian market demand sees a lot of opportunities in using these innovative new technologies from Israel for both its industrial and society development. And the relationship as it is growing both in business and otherwise, I hope, will continue to grow. India, on the other hand, as you know, is a huge market with a robust agricultural sector, growing infrastructure, and the many initiatives that the government has now taken, like the Digital India, Make in India, Smart Cities, Skill India, the emphasis on renewable energy, etc., offer a huge opportunity for a lot of Israeli companies to participate in. Particular interest is the dramatic increase in the startups of the Indian context. We have seen many unicorns that have come up within 1 year, and now we have become the third largest. And here is the big opportunity for the startups between Israel and India to work together to see how we can accelerate the benefits that can arise out of the discoveries of these new startup companies. After all, we cannot forget, Israel has always been known as the startup nation. So, however, also with the recent disruption of supply chains, other newer options have come up. And let me try and highlight some of them. As I've already said, telecom, IT, electronic hardware, computer products are the forefront for Israeli companies. And as we know, in terms of GDP, Israel's investments in discovery and R&D is the highest among the OECD companies. On the other hand, India has identified 25 sectors in its Made in India campaign. And I would urge upon Israeli industry to look at creating an Israeli industrial corridor for putting investments in high-tech manufacturing in our country. And I'm sure my colleague here, Mr. Anil Agarwal, will be all there to support that action. The other very interesting area is the healthcare sector, where joint research and development, particularly in the areas of big data analytics, offers very significant opportunities. Then we have agriculture, where water has become an international issue. And here again, the ability of the Israelis to make do with very scarce water resources and becoming a water positive country is something India can learn from in terms of utility reforms, cleaning up of desalination, reuse, and what have you. Then undoubtedly, as we all know, India and Israel are working very closely on defense and defense-related products. And I need say no more, but to say the transfer of technology and joint ventures with Israeli companies in India can make India a global hub with the support of Israelis for international exports and supplies. Let me also here highlight that Indian corporates and VCs should consider investing in Israeli companies to help develop specific technologies and products. And this is where I alluded to when I said if the startups could join. In fact, one suggestion was, could we create a dashboard of available startup technologies that might be of relevance to India and vice versa, and see how we can cooperate in that segment. Let me take a few minutes to also explain some of the actions that we have taken. As I mentioned informally earlier, there is an India-Israel forum which has existed now for 14 years. And we have recently concluded our 14th meeting, in fact, 3 days ago. Amongst the various actions it has taken, it worked on water, semiconductor, digital healthcare, and movement of goods and services are some of the expert group meetings which were organized by CII through this forum. Under the water management, CII has an MOU with the Water Research Group in Tel Aviv, and work is being done in areas like water audits, solutions for hospitals, and wastewater treatment. Agriculture, as I said, is an important area, and I think the kind of research work that Israel has done has huge potential, and I dare say need for it being brought into India. CII has reached out to the Volcani Center in Israel for the purposes of a long-term partnership. And we are also keen to set up a center of excellence under government-to-government collaboration, and CII would be a willing partner for that purpose. In defense, there is scope, as I said, for co-production and co-development and development institutions around the defense corridor, scope for collaborative research and technology infusion, Israeli partnership for enhancing competitiveness, common trial and testing facilities are other areas which offer us to work together. Public healthcare, again, as I said, digital medical files offer and the use of that technology to reach into the far, far corners of India, be it villages or our distant military personnel, would be of great value for in the Indian healthcare sector. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, Indian-Israeli Industrial R&D Fund, called Global Innovation and Technology Alliance Fund, is a joint venture of CII and the Government of India, which manages this fund. The India-Israel Industrial R&D and Technologies Innovation Fund, which is called the 14F, was launched by the Honorable Prime Ministers of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, and the Israeli Prime Minister, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, on the 15th of January, 1918 in New Delhi. It's a $40 million fund aimed at fostering bilateral industrial research and development between India and Israel. And the Global Innovation and Technology Alliance is the implementing agency on behalf of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and in Israel, it is the Israel Innovation Authority. So far, 5 governing board meetings have been convened and 4 documents have been launched under this program. 4 programs have been launched under this scheme. I would urge my friends hearing this to take full advantage of this fund and this collaboration to promote industrial R&D future further ahead for India. Cybersecurity is again an area which does not have to be said much. It's a very serious challenge in today's time. And again, our friends in Israel have done an outstanding work, and India stands to hugely benefit from it. Lastly, the issues of startups and urban solutions are something I have mentioned. But lastly, I would say travel, tourism, and cultural exchanges, with the increasing ease of travel via the UAE and otherwise, will deepen people-to-people connect, the essence of any 2 countries' relationship. And with that, I thank you all for your patient hearing and have the privilege of inviting His Excellency, your Ambassador Goyor Gilon, for his address to this gathering. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. I start with an apology, very impolite, but after I finish speaking, I must run. I have a meeting that was pre-scheduled, but I really thank you and thank the speakers from both sides. I would like to compliment CII for the Partnership Summit in general, but also for being an instrumental player in pushing the economic cooperation between both our countries forward. Our world experienced difficulties arising out of the pandemic now in the last couple of years, and which disrupted economies, supply chains, industries, businesses, systems, societies worldwide. The Partnership Summit brings together governmental institutions and corporates to work together, share views, and learn from each other to minimize the adverse impacts through a coordinated approach. India is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. It is a country of talented, intellectual, and creative people. India is often seen as the pharmaceuticals manufacturing hub of the world. So your unprecedented progress in the vaccination program comes, at least for us Israelis with no surprise. Israel is another ancient civilization, one of the most resilient, probably, and technologically advanced countries in the world. As you mentioned, this is one of the reasons that we earned the name the Startup Nation, with the highest number of startups per capita in the world. Over the years, Israel has experienced among the highest average growth rate among OECD countries and beyond that. Given our small consumer market domestically, we always strategically turn beyond our borders to sell our products and offer the technologies. India is not only a strategic partner on the diplomatic and security arenas, we also see it as an economic strategic partner. Being one of our main export markets worldwide, we are going to celebrate 30 years of full diplomatic relations on January 29th of next year, so in a couple of months from now. And we have achieved a lot together during these years of cooperation. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations 30 years ago, our bilateral trade relations progressed rapidly. We started at 92 with $200 million, and today merchandise trade diversified. We reached close to $4 billion in 2020, and this is excluding defense, which is a different big chunk. India continues to be, from our perspective, a focus country for Israeli government increased trade efforts. We have 3 different trade offices around India, in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. And according to what I heard from Invest India, in their numbers from the year 2000, more than 300 Israeli companies have invested in India, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. Though bilateral trade is dominated mainly by diamonds and chemicals, in recent years we have witnessed an increase in trade in areas such as electronic machinery, high-tech products, communication systems, medical and dental equipment, and so on. As the world is moving forward rapidly, we expect to see an increasing trend of technology-driven trade. I believe that we need to expand these areas of collaboration to adjust to the post-pandemic situation in fields like healthcare, automation, supply chain management, fintech, and many other fields. Israel is committed to sharing technologies with India in order to help push both our economies to faster post-pandemic growth. With high-tech R&D and many sectors like water, agriculture, automation, healthcare, and IT, Israel can be a catalyst in India's growth through technological cooperations between our companies. Despite all recent hardships, I'm hopeful that 2022 may bring robust turnaround, recovery, and pickup in economic activities. And I would like to wish everyone a fruitful session today. Thank you very much for inviting me and for having this session.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Guillaume. $4 billion without defense must mean far more than the 4 billion that we see. Israel India as a focus country for Israel is great news. 300 Israeli companies and technology-driven trade. I think, Your Excellency, this is exactly the track we need to be on. And I thank you very much for this very concise but very effective communication to all of us here who are looking forward to take this business relationship forward. With that, once again, let me thank you. I now have the pleasure to invite Mr. Anil Agarwal, our Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Anilji.
Very good afternoon, everyone. His Excellency, Mr. Gillen, Ambassador of Israel to India. Mr. Salil Singhal, Ms. Enith Bernstein, Chairperson of Israel India Nepal Chamber of Commerce, and distinguished panelists on this panel. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of this panel in the flagship event of CII, that is the partnership event being conducted in a virtual mode this time. We've normally tried to have these events physically spread across different states, different locations in the country, having international participations. But as we have adapted to the new way of life, new way of doing our work, new way of doing business, we are having this partnership summit totally virtually this time. And we can already see that it has a whole lot of advantages, as we can request and hear a lot of experts from across the globe. It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to be part of this panel. Particularly so because this session is focused on Israel. And as we have His Excellency, the Ambassador of Israel here, I would like to say that our cooperation with Israel in the startup ecosystem has been in the works for the last 4 and 5 years. We are actually impressed by the way Israel has nurtured and promoted innovation in an institutional manner. Of course, we also know that this has been going on in Israel for the last more than 40 years. You started your journey with innovation, supporting innovation in 1980s. And now, over a period of time, you have 79 unicorns. We have just reached a number of 77 unicorns. We are expecting this number to bypass 79 by the end of this year, which is just about 15 days more. We do hope that we'll be able to reach a number at least equal to this number. But what is impressive is the way Israeli government has supported the innovation ecosystem there. The way Israeli citizens who have worked in Silicon Valley and other places have helped scale up their startups from Israel and help them get world markets. These are some certain things that we are extremely impressed with. We have seen the way Israeli Innovation Authority has been conducting itself, the way they have responded to the pandemic and the reactions to pandemic, and they have been very, very agile in terms of putting new schemes for startups so that they could adapt and take advantage of the new way of life. In India, I must say that, we are a very young startup nation. The concept of startup was first launched by our Honorable Prime Minister in 2015. And first structured program for promoting startups in the country was only launched in January 16. That is the 16th of January, 2016. We are going to be celebrating the 6th anniversary of our Startup India program next month, about 30 days now. When we started this program in 2016, nobody knew what a startup was in the country. Very few people, even in the government, knew what a startup was. But the efforts that have been made over the last time, we have made tremendous capacities. We have built tremendous capacities, not just in Government of India, but across all the states and the union territories, with the result that when this Startup India mission was launched, there were only 4 states who had certain policies to support startups. And today, we have more than 30 states and UTs which actively promote startups and have proactive measures for supporting innovation and entrepreneurship within their jurisdictions. Today, we have startups coming across from 632 out of 739 districts of this country. Now, that is the spread that Startup India has done in the last 6 years. When we get into these numbers, we have about more than 59,000 startups across the country. And when we say these, when we talk about these large numbers, there is naturally this question of quality come. What is the quality of these startups? So, to measure the quality of these startups, we did the National Startup Awards last year. And you would be happy to know that out of the 36 winners that we had, there were 8 startups which came from tier 2 and tier 3 cities who were the National Startup Award winners. And when we looked at their products and their processes, half of them were ready to take global markets. They were not just meant only for Indian context. They were also there for the global markets. Now, this is the kind of work that Indian startup ecosystem has shown. There is tremendous promise. Government of India has taken many steps for promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. And if you see, the Prime Minister is very focused on supporting innovation. In fact, in one of the events in Varanasi today, when he was addressing the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir temple, he said this country needs to focus on Srajan. And by Srajan, he said, it is about innovation. And he mentioned the startup ecosystem, that we have 40 unicorns coming in only in 2021. There are many startups which have given world-class products. And if I was just to mention one that as government we are trying to promote, is what we are calling as open network for digital commerce. It's a very simple thing. Like today you have e-commerce, which is distributed in silos. So if you have to do any purchases, you need to go to one particular platform. This model is an innovative one based on the India stack of JAM and the UPI, and it permits interoperability between the different e-commerce platforms. We are trying to unbundle the entire value chain from logistics, from discovery to fulfillment, payment, and everything. And we believe this is going to be the next transformational idea from India and for the world. I also believe that our industry in India needs to take a little more focus on innovation. After all, it's only through developing technologies in-house that is not available anywhere else in the globe that you can get global funding. You can get global money only when you have a cutting-edge global technology. Only with transfer of technologies, you can't expect global revenues. To the colleagues from Israel, I would certainly like to say that we would like to be a little more actively engaged with the startup ecosystem in Israel. At DPIIT, we are also responsible for assisting all the investments in India. And when you have 300 Israeli companies working in India, we would like to be offering our assistance for any of the operational or grounding issues for investments that they may have. I would close my initial remarks here and would come back to you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. Indeed, the focus on startup and the ability to work with Israel and your assurance to our Israeli friends for all your help from your ministry for their investments in India. Thank you very much. I now have the pleasure to invite Ms. Anat Bernstein, who is the chairperson of the Israel-India-Nepal Chamber of Commerce. Can I invite you, Ms. Anat, to share your thoughts? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sinhal. When I was heard about this session and my participation, several friends in Israel called me and say hi to Mr. Sinhal. So all your friends in Israel send their regards to you.
Thank you.
You have a lot of friends here, and I thank you for your participation in promoting our Israel and India friendship and business.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me today. Happy to be here with Mr. Agrawal and our Economic Council, Mrs. Zanging. I understand that Mr. Naor had to leave. This session is about Israel-India relations after the pandemic. And I think that we know what the pandemic did to us. But on the other hand, what I say is that because we were limited to digital interaction, Israelis understood that India is not just Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore. On the internet, we can reach much beyond the metros. And for example, if we look at Hyderabad, in Thai Hyderabad, the Thai Israel and Startup Nation Central started an online program of mentorship, which is called INIS, India Israel Mentorship Program, which takes 10 Israeli and Indian startups with 20 mentors, again, Israeli and Indian, and assist them in market entry to India. And it's done online with Hyderabad that usually Israelis don't reach there. 2 weeks back, I was in the CII session of women in south of India. Again, opportunity that before pandemic, we were not able to do. Or Calcutta, which is now reaching Israeli companies again. Online, suddenly we realized that India is beyond the places that usually Air India or El Al lands. So being half Indian myself, I look at the bright side of the pandemic, and I think that this is important to mention. During the pandemic, we had the Abraham Accord, in which we celebrated just 1 year now. And again, this is another pillar to promote the relations with India, because we created now even a triangle with a lot of Indian community in UAE. And another factor that Dubai became a hub to reach beyond two cities that Air India or El Al reached, and from Dubai we can reach all over India, and this is important. Accessibility and flight accessibility is an important factor to promote business. I'm going tomorrow to the expo in Dubai, for example, where I'm told that India and Israel booth are just one next to the other, and I'm going to the Thai Global Summit where many of the startups of India will be showcased. So this is another place of interaction, which is important. During the pandemic, our chamber did a lot of activities to promote business with India. We did a course called Hindi for business people, and many of our members now, I wouldn't say that they speak Hindi fluently, but they can converse and say "Hap kaise hai, mera naam Anat hai," and all those small things that make life easier when you work in India. So people use this time to improve their skills to work in India. And we also issued a booklet with the Embassy of India in Israel, booklet in Hebrew, and I'll be happy to share it with the Israeli audience. It's in Hebrew, that help them understand how to do business in India. Another thing that Mr. Gilon spoke about, the 4 billion bilateral trade, I don't think that it's enough, and we're not even touching our potential. I think that we should triple this number. Of course, it's difficult, and I believe that Israel is now understood that when the economists spoke about China's +1 as to manufacturing, the +1 is definitely India. And Israelis understand that, and we have many sessions about manufacturing opportunities in India, and Israeli companies are now looking for India as a manufacturing hub, and this will be another pillar to triple our trade. free trade agreement discussion are on the way, and I hope that this time we will also conclude them and not take it from year to year as we did. We need to reach a free trade agreement. Even if we don't understand on everything, even something is a start, we can always improve. And this is happening now. And I think that also, as Mr. Gilon said, we are reaching our 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations, but it's much beyond that. It's not diplomatic, it's people to people. And I think that more Indians are here, more Israelis are here. As you said, 300 companies Israeli invested in India. On that, I'm willing to double it, and that will be nice because still we're not a big country. But Israel is, I think, that gradually understanding that India must be on their map for business, for investment, for future, and for sustainability. And thanks CII for this session, very important one. I think that you call it the Partnership Summit, and definitely Israel is a major partner of India. And thanks for having me here. Thank you, Mr. Singhal.
Thank you very much, Anat Bernstein. I think you have said it with emotion, that the strength that we need to build. And I think you have highlighted the key issues that bond two countries together. Thank you very much. I now have the pleasure to get an industry perspective of the relationship between India and Israel and India. And our first speaker today is my old friend, Mr. Rotash Mal, who is the chairman of EM3, which is in the Agro Services Private Limited, a company involved in the providing mechanization services to Indian agriculture. Rotash, over to you.
Salil, thank you. Wonderful seeing you again and seeing you all again. Thank you CII for inviting me to share almost 14, 15-year-old journey that I've had with Israel. The next trip, hopefully soon, should be my 15th to Israel in as many years. And I recall my first trip vividly when I met with Anat in her office in the Diamond District. We didn't know each other. And at that time, I was seeking technologies from Israel for Airtel's agriculture venture, which was called Field Fresh and Bharti Walmart, etc. Bharti Del Monte, Walmart, etc. So I am going to steer away completely from sectors and so on and so forth. I have deep interest in the agricultural sector as well as now in the health sector as well. But I'm going to steer away from all that to speak for just a few minutes. I know there are many speakers and we are probably 25 minutes to closure. But this is what I've gleaned and I want to share with and make some comments about what will make success happen in arrangements, businesses, relationships between India and Israel. I think first and foremost, we must recognize the size of India and the size of Israel. And Israelis, by and large, are very aware of the vast opportunity that India is. India is equally aware of the vast range of technologies and solutions that germinate out of Israel. There's a huge amount of mutual respect, but this bridge, so to speak, between the supply of ideas, innovation, technologies, and the application that is India needs to be well understood by both in order to make a lot of relationships productive. And I dare say, over the last 2 or 3 years, I'm seeing great action in this area. The second is a cultural matter, so to speak. The way we look at Israelis and Indians. You know, we Indians are a little more easygoing, if I might, a little more, shall we say, we have our roots, our cultural roots do that. But the Israeli mind is razor sharp. It's very focused, very pointed. Extremely, if I know a nation which can skin a coin, the best in the world, that's Israel. Very quick to understand opportunities, very quick to join the dots, so to speak. And there's a lot of culture and history that goes into it. But the fact of the matter is, when an Indian meets an Israeli for the first time, he can be overwhelmed. Over a period of time, these cultural differences, and Anat herself is a PhD in the cultures that unite and divide Israel and India. So you get a big picture out of it. But the second thing is, Israel started 15 years ago trying to sell technologies or solutions to India. I've seen the gradual transition over the last many years from selling or trading to partnering, to getting together to attack the complexity of India in many sectors, to brave the Indian applications of technology in India in a manner of co-investing, and I don't merely mean money, co-investing in terms of time, technology, bandwidth, etc., and co-sharing the benefits of that while implanting Israeli technology in the Indian soil. This inspired us to create a joint venture with Israel, and I won't name names, but my partner is on the screen, and we got together to make a bridge into India for Israeli technologies. I don't think there's much in language that separates us, by and large, especially the language of business. One thing that I would like to see happening in the future is far more exposure of India to Israel. And that means a lot of exchanges from both sides, given that Israel's natural application areas were not India 10, 15 years ago, even 5, 7 years ago. They were Africa, they were Brazil, they were South America, they were US, Europe. Markets were easily accessible. The business conditions were very similar. It's now that I see the momentum happening towards India, and we will need to take action at a certain level to promote a lot of comings and goings, so to speak. A lot of business in India is done with the government. And clearly, the mind of Israel to understand the manner in which business is done with government, large and complex as it is something to be well understood. And this is not something that comes naturally to the understanding. And lastly, is on a lighter note, the speed at which decisions are made in both countries. Israel's the speed of decision making is remarkably high. I would say ours is good too, but there is a gap between the two. And I think we need to fix that. Indians need to understand that we need to close very, very quickly, and it doesn't often happen. But I'll be a little gentle about this, because even for the Indian mind, the harnessing or the understanding of the Indian business context itself is not easy. All said and done, I think, and I might get poetic about it, this is a marriage made in heaven. The natural advantages of Israel, the natural market that India is, a huge amount of affinity between the two, while culturally we may be different. I assure you that Indians and Israelis integrate very well, very quickly. And that has been my personal experience, and the same experience in a lot of people. And this particular partnership has tremendous potential over and above many other relationships. So those are a few thoughts that on a completely non-business, or shall we say on a qualitative level, I wanted to share with the group as invited by CII. And I trust that these would be useful. CII, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Rohtash. I think you put the hand on the nub. The cultural attitudes of businessmen of Israel vis-a-vis Indians. And I think that's a very important area. And the only thing I can say here is both need to appreciate and understand these two cultures. And that might be a great value in getting the two sides together to conclude business deals. Thank you, Rohtash, again. May I now invite Mr. Sushil Chowdhury, who is the founder and CEO of Picture Time Digiplex Private Limited. Mr. Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Singhal, and good evening to you and other panelists. I hope I'm audible.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. So I would, first of all, thank you, CII, for this opportunity to speak about post-pandemic cooperation and perspective. I would like to today highlight, though Anant, His Excellency, Mr. Singhal, all highlighted that relationship between two countries needs to go deeper. And I would like to propose that in India, Himalayan states, 13 Himalayan states now, post JNK and Ladakh being separate, UT, with a population of 53 million people, and central India, I would comprise of 4 states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, and MP, again with the population of 180 million. This block has a tremendous prospect, and this area has tremendous opportunity when we talk specifically about India and Israel relationship. Israeli innovation in agro-ecological sector, technology, and when we talk about post Digital India initiative, which is recently launched in India a few years back. And during the pandemic, if there were a lot of negatives, there were few good learnings. And one of the good learning was that because of digital and connectivity, the way we have built in India, the whole of India was connected not only within, but with the outside world. And you look at UPI data, where we have crossed 100 billion of transaction, which is unimaginable few years back. And all of this happened in last few years. And larger contribution has happened from interior parts of India, beyond metros. So if you talk about new trend, Web 3.0, DeFi, and when I go further and elaborate about this, I would like to brief all the panelists and also other friends. My relationship with Israel goes way back to 2006, when we were working in Latin America, and we did joint venture and relationship with Israeli company and did IT modernization across various and many leading banks of South America. And this was such a huge project and huge opportunity. I mean, when I look back, it was very difficult to visualize how this relationship happened. So similarly, when we look at the current data of 4 billion lateral trade, I feel this is a very humble figure. And in my opinion, this figure is humble because most of the Israeli innovators, investors, they were limited to few key areas, which were, of course, low-hanging fruits like diamond, technology, and other trades. And recently, the defense sector got some boost. But we have to look beyond these sectors. We have to look at Web 3.0 applications and innovation for interior parts of India, especially the Himalayan state and the central India. We have to look at agro-ecological sector. When we talk about tourism, all the Himalayan state of India, the tourism has just begun. If currently I'm speaking from Leh city in Ladakh, which is a very new sector or new state. And I feel here, when we are going to build a tourism business, Israeli companies or investor needs to look at these new destinations and help us build the right tourism solution, tourism balance, like I would like to call it. Like we have to respect the nature and build very balanced infrastructure when we grow the tourism. So currently, since I'm running a company called Picture Time, and I call it as a soft power. Picture Time is a company which I incorporated in 2016. And here I am trying to address cinema and theatrical density issue in our country. India today has theatrical revenue of $2 billion with the population of 1.3 billion people. US has 11 billion of theatrical revenue with a population of 350 million. When the ticket prices are almost at same. But the reason is not, reason is not that I want to highlight and identify this growth gap or the revenue gap. India has a potential of 40 billion plus of theatrical revenue in next 10 years. And the theatrical revenue is going to come from interiors of India. Now, cinema is very integral and the most important soft power, not only within India, but outside India. Cinema binds our people. Today, if you talk about trend, be it fashion trend, be it business trend, be it cultural trend, all are shown reflection in our films, be it Telugu film like Bahubali, which is a mythological based film, be it new film Jai Bhim from down south, which is talking about a very burning issue of India. These films are binding whole of India. Today, I would seek that Israeli investment piggybacks on India's binding possibilities like look at these sectors which are not looked so far. We looked at how we build DeFi product in India. We are currently debating, but it has a huge potential. We look at, once again, I repeat, agroecological sector and build, incubate and support ventures from interior parts of India. Like I would like to see that Israeli investor comes invest in a entrepreneurship venture based out of Ladakh, Arunachal Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh, Dantewada area. There are entrepreneurs. There are solutions which has a tremendous possibility to growth within that region, and also like Secretary Mr. Mittal said, it has the capability to build global product. And today, our entrepreneurs from these regions are as hungry as we have entrepreneurs from big cities. So thank you so very much, CII, and thank you, Mr. Singhal, for this opportunity and patient hearing all of you. I would call for deeper participation where deep tech is taken more seriously. Infra energy sector in these Himalayan state supports our border advanced development programs, and also agroecological sector is looked at with a more focused approach. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sushil, and I appreciate your focus on the hilly states of our country, and definitely the time for agro-eco sector has indeed arrived, and I'm sure there would be many opportunities in this segment. I now have the pleasure to invite our friends from Israel to speak of their experience and their thinking on this Indo-Israel business relationship. And I call upon Mr. Aaron Mella, who's the co-founder and chairman of Ecopia. Don't confuse it with Ethiopia. So, Mr. Aaron, over to you.
Great. Many thanks, Mr. Singhal. Great to be here as always. And many thanks for inviting us to take part of the 2021 CII Summit. Ecopia is by far the pioneer and world leader in robotic technologies for the solar space. Before diving into the technology as well as the synergies between the Indian economy and the Israeli economy, I would very much like to spend a minute or two to show you a short clip that demonstrates the need.
India is growing fast. That's why, in the next 7 years, massive solar farms will be built, generating 100,000 megawatts, powering 41 million households, a growth of 2,500%. 79% of solar farms are expected to be built in arid areas where they are vulnerable to dust and sand. This can reduce efficiency up to 35%. To keep solar panels clean and efficient, 2 litres of water are needed for washing each panel. That's over 15 billion litres every year. Water vital for drinking, agriculture, sanitation and industry. In fact, India is expected to exhaust all available water by 2050. So, what's more important? Energy or water? Without enough energy and water, the economy just can't leap forward. Fortunately, there is a simple solution: enabling maximal power production without using any water. Daily water-free robotic cleaning maximizes efficiency and preserves water for where it is truly needed. This way, production costs are reduced compared to the polluting coal and oil, so the solar industry can continue growing, maintaining the eco-balance required for a sustainable future. Ecopia, empowering solar.
Not sure if you had a chance to watch it properly. Hopefully you did, and if not, we'll share it post the presentation. But anyways, the future clearly lies in automation. We're seeing large scale and ultra large scale utility solar plants being built, and the only viable way to manage, monitor, and maintain those sites is with technologies such as Ecopia. And during the COVID era, or more specifically the 150-day national lockdown that India had, we have shown and presented to the Indian economy that only with the Ecopia technology, sites can actually operate seamlessly day and night without a single human being on them. In terms of water scarcity, everyone is talking about it, and the shortage of water is crystal clear. The beauty about the Ecopia technology is that we're not using a single drop of water. The technology is completely water-free, and we're actually making green energy even greener. If we look at the figures over the last few years, Ecopia has saved the Indian economy well over 4 billion liters of water, and every day we're now saving over 750,000 liters of water, just taking the existing projects we have, and clearly we're expecting it to continue and grow exponentially. Strategically, Ecopia is focused on large-scale and ultra-large-scale utility solar plants. That is to say, we're focused on the elephants of the market, the NTPC, the Azure, the Renew, and other multi-billion-dollar companies in India. Together, we have built 2.5 gigawatt of solar in India, and already signed 11.2 gigawatt of orders that will be deployed over the next few years. I think Ecopia is presenting a clear case study of made in India. We have completely implemented PM Moody's philosophy of Make in India. Currently, all of Ecopia's robotic systems are being manufactured and assembled in India. We have basically created a new industry in India. Robotic for solar space did not exist before we came. We have certified well over 80 engineers within Ecopia India, and those are sophisticated jobs that since then have created additional startups in India, and we have also trained other companies to conduct the assembly and post-sales maintenance. Overall, most definitely a success story and a great partnership between India and Ecopia. So the bottom line in Israeli technology, a unique Indian presence. We were founded in 2013. Ecopia is publicly traded in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Global tier 1 customers, offices in Delhi or Gurgaon, Tel Aviv, and Madrid. Well over 3,000 megawatt already deployed. We're active in India since 2016. As I said before, over 80 engineers. Our global training center and knowledge transfer is currently in India. A great story of exports from India to the rest of the world. And actually, Anat spoke about the triangle among India, UAE, and Israel. So actually, Copia is the first company that have utilized this triangle. We have produced robotic systems in India, utilized the technology in Israel, and now deploying the joint technologies in the UAE with one of the leading energy players the world over. Overall, as we see it, it's a great story about saving water, significantly improving efficiency as far as energy is concerned. But most of all, I think the partnership between India and Israel shows that even the sky is not the limit. So again, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity today, and we're really looking forward to continue and expand this partnership going forward.
Thank you very much, Iran. I think this is a perfect example which ticks all the boxes of how the two countries' relationship should be taken forward and cemented. I think this is a fantastic example, and congratulations for what you have done and for helping India save its water and exploiting the technologies that you have worked with for global markets. Thank you. May I now invite Mr. Doron Shalom, the CEO of MS Tech, for his presentation, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having MS Tech, and I appreciate the opportunity. India has been a very exciting adventure for us throughout the years, and I believe that we still have a lot coming. Just trying to share the presentation here. Just a second. Okay. So I believe we have a lot of new and exciting innovation coming to this exciting market. Now, I'd like to introduce a little bit MS Tech and what is it that we do in the Indian market and in the global world. Can everybody see my screen?
No, we are all back on the screen now, Aaron.
Okay. Let's try again.
Yes, you're there.
Fantastic. So MS Tech is all about sensors. We are falling in the category of industrial sensors in the nanotechnology sector. We are specializing in inventing, designing, and manufacturing sensor arrays, and we specialize them for different applications. Like many of the nice stories you hear about Israeli innovation, we come from the defense and homeland security sector, and gradually we're growing into the food safety, biomedical, and actually other applications that we have in the pipeline. The core idea of what we do is basically to be designing sensors to detect and identify molecules, virus, and bacteria. So the heart of what we do is based on the ability to develop and synthesize selective coatings that we deposit in industrial processes on our sensors. The sensors are quite unique. They're highly sensitive and selective for almost any application that one can think of. And the beauty in what we do and in the world, for example, and one of them is in the homeland security, national security, and defense application, is by sharing this story. I believe that everybody has been flying in airports, and everybody has gone through the experience of getting through security checkpoint and security screening. And that is a challenge. It's a challenge specifically in India because the amount of airports and the amount of people that are flying domestically and internationally is just unbelievable in terms of throughput per day. Not to mention that today, given the regulation of the Airport Authority of India, the Bureau of Civil Aviation, and the international regulation, there's a need to add these screening measures to air cargo screening as well. So you can imagine the amount of parcels, boxes, and cargo India has to inspect every day, especially with the growth of parcel and boxes shipping after the COVID-19 period. And for us, basically, we have developed a range of products that are designed for narcotics, for liquids, for explosives, for different chemicals screening. And the whole idea of what we're doing is based basically a lot on success stories and track record we have in the industry. A lot of them is outside India. That's one example of drug interception that we successfully did with deployment in Europe. It's a program that we do with the United Nations, the European Commission, the German government. And the whole idea is to be able to use these sensors in the field. So trying to catch the problems before they become the big problems in-house or in the big cities, or God forbid, when the plane is already in the skies. Taking India as a case study, it has been a success story for us. You see all the airports that you have in your country. So I can say carefully that we are deployed in more than 103 sites across your amazing country. I remember 6-7 years ago when I started talking about India, a lot of the people told me, don't go into India because it's slow, it's bureaucratic, doing business with the Airport Authority of India is almost impossible. And we just went against the stream. And I can say that we got the first contract in Delhi Airport after 3 months of work. And since then, we have grown to more than 100 sites that we today not just have using these machines on a daily basis, but we also support and maintain. And it's just for us a fantastic experience because we have decided to go to this adventure in India under Make in India. That has been probably one of the toughest challenges for us as Israelis because we were awarded a very big contract with the Indian government, and then COVID came. And one can imagine what it takes to set up the whole Make in India operations during the COVID period, where it was almost impossible to even fly outside Israel, not to mention countries like India. I can say that thanks to the Ministry of Economy and all the team in Israel and in India, we managed to move mountains. We got special government permits. We flew and we worked in India during the COVID period. And some of the activities that were involved in these projects were not just the installation, but also the training. So for us, the challenge in India is that we experienced that once you install something for the Airport Authority of India, the users are the CISF, which do not belong to the Airport Authority of India. And we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of operators that need to get adapted to new technology. I think we all agree that if we have to upgrade Windows 10 to Windows 11, each and every one of us doesn't like to change the operating system in the computer. And here it was basically the whole story of bringing innovation to all the airports in India, and that has been a great challenge. Today, we have successfully completed this huge project, and the systems that you see in the photo on the right are actually our systems that are gradually replacing all the radioactive installed base that India has today. So one of the key things that we're looking on is not just about making India, but also being eco-friendly to the technology that we bring to India. So the whole purpose is to see in the next 5 years the removal of radioactive source technologies and replace them with green sensors and green nanotechnology capabilities, which we see as the future. So this is how a trolley Make in India and a system that is deployed today in one of the checkpoints in India looks like. All the production is done in India, including from the PCB level to the trolleys, the hardware, everything is done in different cities in India. And that is, to us, considered to be a success story because we can also see, in some cases, successful interceptions. So that is one example of interception of explosives that we have in India. This is how it looks like. And I would say that the challenge that we've had was difficult in the beginning, but once you get used to that and you have your Indian employees under an Indian subsidiary, you have your Indian partners to do production for you. It's all about a matter of economies of scale. The more you grow, the more you get used to this process. We've done I think the most difficult steps because they were done during the COVID period. Today I can laugh about this, but imagine opening a bank account during COVID period when you're a foreigner and you have to give all the original paperwork to an Axis Bank branch. It's almost impossible.
Absolutely.
So we've done this and we look forward today on the Indian market to grow into the food safety sector with the rapid screening during production and the rapid screening in the field of raw materials, anywhere from pesticides to herbicides to chemicals contamination during production processes, as well as in the biomedical diagnostic sector, where we are today leading a very huge consortium with the Israel Innovation Authority, which was mentioned earlier on in this call. So I'd like to thank everybody. India for us is an exciting adventure, as I said, and we look forward to keep on visiting and growing your beautiful country.
Thank you very much, Doron. This is again a tremendous example. And really, you managed to do the possible when it looked impossible. And you remind me of our Prime Minister making a statement that he wants to do things which look impossible and make them possible. And you have done it and proven it. And again, an absolutely outstanding example of Indo-Israeli cooperation. Thank you very much. And may your business grow further and further. With this, may I come to Mr. Guy Iskovich. I hope I pronounced your family name correctly, Guy. You're the senior manager of SCR Engineering, and I'm sure he also has a very interesting story to tell. Please,
yes.
Guy.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Excellent. Again, thank you very much for the invitation and for this interesting summit. Let me just share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, of course.
Excellent. Okay. Again, my name is Guy Iskovich. I'm with Allflex that used to be SCR Dairy. We've been operating in the Indian market for the last 6 years. I just want to cover a few of our advantages, both worldwide and to the Indian dairy industry. In the Indian dairy industry, we see quite a lot of challenges. It's the largest dairy industry in the world, but we see a lot of manual methods and a lot of guesswork in the management of the dairy farms. Milk rate fluctuates a lot, and we see very low productivity, definitely compared to Israel, but even compared to other places. In Israel, the average yield is about 8 times higher than what we see in India today. And we know that we can do better, and we know that the Indian market requires more and more that will be made locally. Basically, our products are tags that allows you to move from looking at the cows to looking at screens and basically reviewing data that is already pre-analyzed by our systems. We have the sensors coming either as a neck collar on the left side of the screen or an ear tag, as you can see on the right side of the screen. Both of them are doing more or less the same work. They follow the cows 24/7 and record a lot of movements and activities that are health and estrus and heat stress and feeding related. The company was acquired about 2 years ago by MSD Animal Health. MSD is the fourth largest human health company in the world, and their animal health is the second largest animal health company in the world. The company has a turnover of the animal health of about $5 billion, and we have presence in 150 countries. As I mentioned before, we work in India for over 6 years right now. And we're basically the only company in the world that provides everything from medications, vaccines, health products, but also technology that improves the health and the welfare of the animals. Just a little bit of about the structure. As you can see, MSD Animal Health is the mother company. The Animal Health Intelligence is the part that I work for. And basically under that, we can see identification, which we've been selling in the Indian market for the last 6 years already. We're selling about 60 million tags, what we call stupid tags, which is only the visual tags in the country every year. The livestock monitoring is what I'm talking about today, along with the milking part of it. Allflex has 24 production sites. One of them is in India, and we've been supplying those visual tags from India for the last 3 years already. So we have the Made in India on part of the selection. When we'll move to the next step with the monitoring, where we've sold so far 6 million tags worldwide, when we'll move to the next step in India, we believe that we'll move production on monitoring tags to India as well. The company was established in Israel in 1976, was acquired by Allflex in 2015 and by MSD in 2020. The line that I'm most proud of is the company's employees. About 25% of them are R&D engineers, basically working on the next generation of monitoring. Right now, we're the #1 seller of monitoring tag worldwide. And the only way to do that is by keep developing meaningful insights for the dairy farmers that will push productivity and health and well-being of the animals. We're the world leader, as I mentioned, with over 50% market share on the tags. Just 2 months ago, I have hosted Dr. Jay Shankar, India's Minister of External Affairs, in one of our farms in Israel, a farm that, as you can see, is managed and milked and monitored by our systems. Basically, what the monitoring tags are doing, you can see the monitoring tags are behind the ears of the cows. And basically, the farmer can see everything that he needs to see. All his management can be done on his mobile phone. All the tags information is being collected from the tag directly to antenna that covers the whole farm. And from the antenna, it goes to the cloud. And then it can be visited and viewed from any place on Earth. We have both individual monitoring and group monitoring that helps us to better understand if we're doing better in different parts of the farm. Let me try and run a little bit faster. This is basically the basic system. It contains a tag. It contains either a computer or a mobile phone and an antenna. So it's a very simple, easy to use system, very intuitive. We have a big office in New Delhi, and we have quite a few dealers spread all over the country. So we can support it locally by the dealers and support it technically in a second circle to the dealers from our New Delhi, from our Gurgaon office. The benefits that we see in the value chain are the following. We have, first of all, animal well-being, that it's maintained at a much higher level, because the tag alerts the farmer or the vet or the AI technician earlier than the farmer can just see a sick cow. Our tag will have probably a day to 3 days ahead of just observation in telling the farmer to look and treat at a certain cow. What we see, the second issue is more milk. We're basically, by inseminating the cows on time, we get shorter cycles that brings more milk from the same cows, and more peace of mind to the farmer, because everything is managed on his cellular phone. We've recently started selling it to Amul, and they've been using it to their vet service to optimize their vet and the AI technician services to their own co-op members. Basically, we're alerting Amul on the right timing for insemination or on health issues, and in turn, they will send a technician, and by that, they're using their technicians in a much more efficient way than doing it visually. On the cooperative organization, we see healthier animals and we see prosperous farmers. As you all know, the agriculture ministry has put a target in India to grow the income of the dairy farmers, I think, by 50% by 2025. And this is a great way to do that, to push to this direction.
I need to hurry this up, Guy. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting, but we have run over time. So
okay.
If you can quickly
I
conclude.
apologize. Yes, I'll conclude it. This is basically it. I think that I have only one more. So this is basically the activities that we're following. It's mainly estrus, to inseminate the cow on time. Rumination basically gives us indication on the cow's well-being. Eating, we basically control, we see exactly how the feeding and what the feeding is doing to the cow. And we have heat stress alert, which basically controls the heavy breathing of the cows, and we can alert the farmer on cooling the cows or getting there to feel better. This is the last slide here. Basically, you see here the black arrow. The black arrow is telling the farmer when is the best time to inseminate the cow. And this, by inseminating the cows on time, you get faster calving that will bring more milk from the same cows, and at the same time will keep them healthier as well. That's basically it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you are in a very unique technology space in the dairy industry, and India, being the largest producer of milk, can definitely use this technology for enhancing its output. Thank you very much for these presentations, gentlemen. It's not much time for comments, except that I am pleased to invite Ms. Natasha Zengin, the economic counselor in the Embassy of India, in the Embassy of Israel, for her remarks, closing remarks. Natasha.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singhal, and thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for your lovely presentation as well, and for our ambassador and Anat from the Chamber of Israel and India, Chamber of Commerce, and of course to all of the speakers. I won't take much of your time. I think we pretty much covered all the burning issues in the economic relations between Israel and India. And Mr. Singhal, you had a lovely overview of the sectors that we usually cooperate on, and the involvement of the economic relations between the both of our states. And I do want to also thank you for your lovely moderating of the session. I think the most important point to take forward as an action item is to really to understand that we are very far away from our fullest potential when it comes to the mutual trade between both countries. We've seen an immense increase in the trade since the diplomatic relations started in 1992, but we're still very far away from the fullest potentials of this trade. And I think the diversity of the speakers, the companies, the technologies that we're presenting here today, starting from agri-tech to digital media, to HLS and cyber, to milk, and of course renewable energy. It's just a great example of the different technologies and the different sectors that both nations can really collaborate. And I do invite you to approach us at the economic mission here at the Embassy of Israel in New Delhi, or the ones located in Mumbai or in Bangalore, so we can help you to enhance these trade relations, economic relations, to find relevant synergies for partners, for companies, for partnerships on both sides. And thank you again for a lovely session.
Thank you very much. I think we have had a very interesting session. We have learned a lot today, and we see lots and lots of opportunities for the two countries to work together on almost every front, from technology to industry to cultural and individual relationships, and go forward. So with this, let me thank all of you who have participated, and my special particular thanks to all our worthy and august speakers who have shared their thoughts and made this session a very interesting and a useful one. With that, thank you, and I now formally bring this session to a close. Thank you very much, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Singhal. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Many thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.